Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there, not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.
Hey everybody, God bless you. Welcome again to the Crystal Jones Show. It's the show that's all about life's balance. I'm your talk show host, Crystal Jones, and it's so good to see you all. Thank you for watching the show, as you always do. Continue to share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as you can visit me at my Facebook page. Let me give you my contact information on YouTube and Facebook. You can find me at the Crystal Jones TV show. Make sure you put that in so that other, again, I got to remind you, I have a very common name. So make sure you put in the Crystal Jones TV show on Facebook and on YouTube. That way you can see all of the latest events and things like that I'm, involved in, as well as you can see episodes of the show. Also, on Instagram, The Crystal Jones Show, and you can reach me at thecrystaljonesshow@gmail.com. You can ask questions or whatever it is that you'd like to ask. Okay, so let's get down to it. Today, the country again is just always at such unrest. It's so sad, but these are the things that Christ talked about. These are the beginning of sorrows. He talked about how this day would come, and it is here. And it's so sad that those who are supposed to be in charge really don't always seem to know how to lead properly. And so you have, again, situations like the lieutenant. His name is Karan Nazario. He was pepper sprayed, and the police were supposed to be pulling him over for supposedly, I think his car was new and he had the license plate, I think, in the window or something like that. So they pulled him over, but he put on his flashers, moved to the side, and to watch that thing play out where the officer was saying to him, "You're fixing to ride the lightning," and come to know of what that means. It has something to do with like the electric chair or something like that. So what is he talking about? You know what I'm saying? You're a police officer. Why would you say that? And then the fact that they pepper sprayed him like that was utterly ridiculous. He pulled over, and for some reason, they don't think that they're supposed to explain to you why they're arresting you or why they're pulling you over. And then the thing that they always want to say is, oh, these black people don't want to submit to authority. Like, stop resisting. So when we don't resist, you shoot us and kill us. So it's like, people are on edge when they see you coming. So you can't have it both ways. You want us to stop resisting, but you taser us for no reason and stuff like that. You don't explain. You kick down the doors to our houses and come in and choke the children and all kind of crazy things that law enforcement is doing. Also, Dante Wright, the lady said she slipped and used her gun instead of her taser. I mean, what? It's just really getting crazy. And they think that, I don't know, I feel like they really feel like we're stupid. Like, we don't know what you're doing. It's like, it's obvious. It's blatant racism. All right. Now, I want to read to you something from the New York Times. It said, it would be easy to think that the police officer is a figure who has existed since the beginning of civilization. That's the idea on display in the proclamation from one of the former presidents on the dedication of the week of May 15th as National Police Week, in which he noted that law enforcement officers had been protecting Americans since the nation's birth. First of all, that's a lie. All right. Police officers have not been protected. They ain't been protecting everybody. All right. So you know, I wanted to read to you about how um, these officers basically came into practice. In the South, however, the economics that drove the creation of police forces were centered not on the protection of shipping interests, but on the preservation of the slavery system. Some of the primary policing institutions there were the slave patrols, tasked with chasing down runaways and preventing slave revolts. This first formal slave patrol had been created in the Carolina colonies in 1704. During the Civil War, the military became the primary form of law enforcement in the South. But during Reconstruction, many local sheriffs functioned in a way analogous to the earlier slave patrols, enforcing segregation and disenfranchisement of freed slaves. Now, what are grown people doing trying to enslave other grown people? That's the thing I really don't even get about slavery, period. But it's the same, it's the same nonsense that has been going on for centuries of, them trying to patrol us and enslave us. And this is the attitude that they have. I mean, for an officer to say, you're fixing to ride the lightning, and he's saying this to a lieutenant that served this country. So it makes me wonder, our people are serving this country for what? And then they want us to, they want to know why our people don't want to pledge allegiance to a flag. A flag that, what does that flag represent? It represents supremacy. It really does. It doesn't represent, and then it says, they want you, it says they pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And they talk about for the republic in which it stands, one nation under God. That's a lie. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For all? Really? Why is all of this going on if that's what pledging the allegiance stands for? It's a lie. And unless the ones who are the supremacists come to that reality and change their ways, this country is never going to change. It's going to continue to spiral out of control because it's already out of control. It's already. So I'm looking at those two incidents, the pepper spraying of the lieutenant. There was no reason for them to pepper spray this man. Then you got Dante Wright. Oh, I slipped and used my gun instead of the taser. What? I mean, it never ends. It's just always the same thing. And it all stems back on what? Racism and supremacy. And that's what this country is rooted and grounded in. Their founding fathers, because they weren't ours, because we're not even from here. But this is what it's been based on. Their for their founding fathers, their former presidents and all of that. That's what it was always based on, slavery. And this is why law enforcement always looks at Black people like slaves, because they were created for slave patrol. And I've been telling you that. It's in the Time magazine. It's written. You could read that, and it tells you that. In a lot of the different history books, this country was founded on supremacy, and you can't do that. I mean, look how out of control things are. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So anyway, we're going to keep moving on to our next portion, which we are going to be sadly talking about our missing children. We have the first one that I have is Chandra Clark. She's been missing since April the 8th, 2021. She's been missing from Albany, New York, and she's 13 years old. Okay. So she needs to be found. Okay, she's a white female, and she's been missing, it says, since April 8th of 2021. So our you know, if you've seen her, please get in touch with the police. Let them know, what's going on. She's been missing from Albany, New York. Get in touch with the New York Police Department and let somebody know you've seen her, or even if it's somebody you think may be her, because sometimes when they're missing, if they've been kidnapped, their captors could have cut their hair or done anything to them. If you know somebody that's in a situation, looks like they're being prostituted or something like that, because that's what they do to a lot of these kids. They put them in prostitution rings. Call the police immediately. Let them know what's going on, okay? What you see as going on, okay? So she's the first one that I have on my list. I'm sorry, my computer's running a little bit slow today, but okay, I have her. And then the next person I have, please be a little patient with me. Hopefully this one is it. Okay, no, that one didn't come up right. Okay, here we go with this one. I think this one is it. Okay, the next one we have Jediah Molina. Jediah Molina. He's been missing since March 31st of this year, 2021, from New York. Okay, he's 17 years old. He's a black male. His eyes are a black color, and his height is 5'7". He's about 140 pounds. Please, if you have seen this young man, 17 years old, I don't know what, may have happened. I don't know if he's involved in some type of gang activity. I don't know. But if you've seen him, he's missing. His family is looking for him. Please let New York Police Department know, that you've seen him and that he's on the missing and exploited children's list. Okay, because he's still considered a minor. So, if you see him, please, okay, say something about it. All right. I think I have one more person on the list. I'm going to be quick about it and then get to the next part of the segment. I have a lot for you today. Yes, Trinity Abraham. She is the next one. She's missing since March 27th of 2021 from New Rochelle, New York. All right, that's right here by the Bronx. All right, she's 16 years old. She's a black female, about 5'4", and her weight is 170 pounds. If you see Trinity Abraham, all right, please let the police know. She's missing from New Rochelle. Okay, so let's help bring our youth home. All right, I'm sure their parents would be grateful for anything that you could do, any information. All right. Okay, so now on a happy note, we're going to go to spotlight on our youth. Am I right? Yes. We're going to go to spotlight on our youth, and our spotlight today is on Mosiah Bridges. Many of you remember Mosiah Bridges. He is the CEO of Mo's Bowls. Remember him on Shark Tank? He was very young when he went on Shark Tank. He's a little entrepreneur. All right. He's from Memphis, Tennessee, a young entrepreneur who started his own company because he wanted to look and feel good about himself. He is focused on growing his bow tie business and helping other young people do the same. Mosiah Bridges owns Mo's Bowls, handcrafted bow ties, and at 19 years old, his business has already taken him around the world and back a few times. Okay. He's been on the Wall of Fame, I believe, with Barack Obama, and along with many other famous people. He loves different colors on, what is this? I'm sorry, y'all. Forgive me. He says, I love different colors on one bow tie. Some of the African prints, Bridges said, showing off his newly opened Memphis retail store. So this young boy has a store of his own. That's my goal, to really have different prints and patterns that pop out at you, that you can't make a decision at the checkout line. So he wants you to buy his stuff, right? At 10 years old, this sharp-dressed kid was cutting and sewing at the family dinner table like his grandmother taught him. When we started out on this bow tie journey, I like to say Mo, who is 9, he was 9 at the time, he was thinking lemonade stand at best. But she noticed that she'd send her son to school with a bow tie, and he'd come home without it, telling her he'd sold it or traded it at school. So this young man has been an entrepreneur since he was 9 years old. He was a savvy grade school entrepreneur. He landed on the Steve Harvey show, then on Shark Tank. He made the glossy pages of style magazines. At 13, the NBA even hired him as a fashion correspondent. Wow. 2 years later, he got a licensing deal with them. Whew. He said it's been great to have so many mentors. Of course, he has, Damon John. That's been a great mentor for him from Shark Tank. And he always says that Damon gives him great advice. Bridges realizes the importance mentors have played in his success. So that's why he and his mother plan to help other kid entrepreneurs reach their dreams. Isn't that something that he wants to give back? Because so many have, helped him, have reached out and helped him as well. I like that he's not selfish. His mother's teaching him to reach out and help other youth. And this is definitely a positive, because so much is being thrown on the Black community. They're accusing us of hating Asians and all kind of crazy nonsense. They're shooting us, every time we have a new car. If you're walking down the street Black, all kind of things, all kind of negativeness that is geared toward us. But still we rise. Still we rise, okay? So I'm just so glad that God is showing the enemy to be a liar, that our community is thriving and surviving. So I want to send a shout out to Mosiah Bridges and to the Black community. Keep looking up to the Lord our God. Return to the Lord our God, and he's going to continue to bless us. He's going to bless our young people as well as our old, and all of us, if we continue to serve our God in spirit and in truth. We'll be able to walk past the negativity and nonsense that they keep trying to send our way. All right. So now, as you know, I've been adding different things to, the show, different segments, so that we can, grow together. So the next part that I'm going to go to is Business 101. All right. Last week I did the LLC. If you didn't see it, go back and look at it. I had the 7 steps of starting your LLC. So today I'm going to give you advice on having your LLC. The good thing about it is that you pay yourself. So that teaches you how not to waste your money. Whatever monies that you take in, whatever it is that you do, whether, I see a lot of our people sell a lot of different products, such as like Mo with Mo's Bows, You have people that do, like I said, on Etsy, they do a lot of, which I'm going to be doing next, a lot of the butters and, health products and things like that. A lot of people are doing, not just Black people, but people in general, right? So if you are selling these things like on Etsy and different places online, Amazon and whatnot, whatever proceeds that you make, that's how you pay yourself. You pay yourself through your LLC. You're not doing it like as an incorporation where you may have a payroll type thing. No, you take the money and you pay yourself. But know that at the end of the year, you're going to have to report that, to when you report your taxes for your LLC. But there's a certain portion of it you're going to be using, of course, for your livelihood, right? So that's the good thing about an LLC is you pay you. So you can decide, okay, well, how much am I going to live off of this year? Am I just going to live off of $30,000? And, it shows you how to budget yourself, I feel, with an LLC as opposed to an incorporation where you may have other employees. You don't necessarily have to, but an incorporation might be more for like if you have like a ministry or something like that, because then it's basically going to like, different things that you may do for the community on a yearly basis. Okay, so that's my business 101 tip for you this week. The next part we're going to go to is health and wellness. Okay, so today for our health and wellness, we are going to be talking about the argan oil. That is going to be what I'm going to be talking about today in health and wellness. Okay, argan oil. All right, I'm talking about the raw argan oil butter. I've been into the butters. The first week I started, I told you about the shea butter and the good things about shea butter. Then last week I did the lemon butter. Okay, today the argan butter. Argan oil is just good. Oh, get it. Get the oil, the soap, the butter. It's awesome. Argan oil is effective for your skin. It's packed with omega fatty acids, vitamin E, all right, and linoleic acids, all of which works to lightly moisturize your skin, soften dry patches, and even reduce acne. All right. It's essentially nature's protective, nourishing superfood for your skin. So you want to get that argan oil. Argan oil also for your hair. You can get it as a hair product, sometimes people use olive oil to, for their head, to, what I mean, when you're oiling your scalp, you can use argan oil for that. Also, I have the argan soap. It's very good on your skin too. Your hair, it really, really helps your hair. Whenever I because you all know I change my hair all the time. I know y'all laughing. I do. But when I cut my hair, especially when the weather gets warm and, I put the argan oil on my hair and I have the short curly afro, it makes my afro just look so nice. It does. It keeps it nice and moisturized. Okay. So those are the things today that I'm sharing with you. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go to visuals today because I want to do a recap on the Levitical priesthood. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you a visual aid for the garments of the priest. First, we're going to go over that. I wanted you to actually see a good demonstration of what the garments actually look like. I tried with the diagram I had last week, but I was advised that you all need to see a little more of the visual. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look visually at the garments of the priesthood. Okay.
And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for glory and for beauty. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, and an ephod, and a robe, and a broidered coat, a mitre, and a girdle. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron thy brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And they shall make the ephod of gold, of blue, and of purple, of scarlet, and fine twined linen with cunning work. It shall have the two shoulder pieces thereof joined at the two edges thereof, and so it shall be joined together. And the curious girdle of the ephod which is upon it shall be of the same, according to the work thereof, even of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. And thou shalt take 2 onyx stones, and grave on them the names of the children of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone, and the other 6 names of the rest on the other stone, according to their birth. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, shalt thou engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. Thou shalt make them to be set in ouches of gold. And thou shalt put the 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial unto the children of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord upon his 2 shoulders for a memorial. And thou shalt make ouches of gold, and 2 chains of pure gold at the ends. Of wreathen work shalt thou make them, and fasten the wreathen chains to the ouches. And thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment with cunning work. After the work of the ephod thou shalt make it, of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen shalt thou make it. 4 square it shall be, being doubled. A span shall be the length thereof, and a span shall be the breadth thereof. And thou shalt set in it settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. And the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold in their enclosings. And the stones shall be with the names of the children of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a signet. Every one with his name shall they be, according to the 12 tribes. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate chains at the ends of wreathen work of pure gold. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate 2 rings of gold, and shalt put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And thou shalt put the 2 wreathen chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. And the other 2 ends of the 2 wreathen chains thou shalt fasten in the 2 ouches, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod before it. And thou shalt make 2 rings of gold, and thou shalt put them upon the 2 ends of the breastplate in the border thereof, which is in the side of the ephod inward. And 2 other rings of gold thou shalt make, and shalt put them on the 2 sides of the ephod underneath, toward the forepart thereof, over against the other coupling thereof, above the curious girdle of the ephod. And they shall bind the breastplate by the rings thereof unto the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, that it may be above the curious girdle of the ephod, and that the breastplate be not loosed from the ephod. And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart, when he goeth in unto the holy place, for a memorial before the Lord continually. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goeth in before the Lord. And Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before the Lord continually. And thou shalt make the robe of the ephod all of blue, and there shall be an hole in the top of it in the midst thereof. It shall have a binding of woven work round about the whole of it, as it were the hole of an habergeon, that it be not rent. And beneath upon the hem of it thou shalt make pomegranates of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet round about the hem thereof, and bells of gold between them round about, a golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe round about. And it shall be upon Aaron to minister, and his sound shall be heard when he goeth in unto the holy place before the Lord, and when he cometh out, that he die not. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, and grave upon it, like the engravings of a signet, Holiness to the Lord. And thou shalt put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre, upon the forefront of the mitre it shall be. And it shall be upon Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. And thou shalt embroider the coat of fine linen, and thou shalt make the mitre of fine linen, and thou shalt make the girdle of needlework. And for Aaron's sons thou shalt make coats, and thou shalt make for them girdles, and bonnets shalt thou make for them, for glory and for beauty. And thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother and his sons with him, and shalt anoint them, and consecrate them, and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness. From the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons, when they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever unto him and his seed after him.
All right. You see that how intricate that their garments were, and how, like I told you last week, this was a family thing. See, because God is about family. Okay, so back in the day, the father would come together with the whole family, and the families had different businesses and gifts and talents that God had given out, and the mother and father would come together with all the children and see whatever that family was anointed with, whether it was the priesthood or whatever. That's what the whole family was involved in. Aaron and his sons were priests. And I mean, I'm not saying they were priests for money or nothing like that, but I'm just saying there was a time where family really meant something. It wasn't all of this stuff that you see today. Everybody just doing their own thing. Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. No, that's why we were separated into tribes. The tribe of Judah, that we were the lawgivers. The the Levites, they handled the things of the sanctuary. We had 12 different tribes, and all of these different tribes did a lot of different things, and that's what the family was about. Everybody was important for some reason. So anyway, I wanted to share again with you about the tabernacle, the wilderness tabernacle, with that, they called it the wilderness tabernacle or the Moses tabernacle. And so that you could see the different pieces of furniture that God told Moses to make sure he made. And remember, they made this out of all the gold and stuff that we left Egypt with. When we left Egypt, we left with a high hand. We left with gold and all silver and all kind of different things. And those things were used to build the wilderness tabernacle. So I wanted you to also see the tabernacle man's video on the wilderness tabernacle. So let's take a look.
The Tabernacle Man. Teaching biblical principles to a sight and sound generation.
3,500 years ago, the Tabernacle of Moses was the first portable sanctuary for worshipping the Lord. When Moses ascended Mount Sinai, the Lord was very specific with regards to the pattern that needed to be followed in order to construct the tabernacle. And he was very clear that Moses should not deviate from this pattern whatsoever. So why is it that we as believers need to study this pattern today? Is it possible that it could have any relevance for the Lord's people in this day and age? And could it seriously give us any insights into our own spiritual walk by studying this ancient form of worship? Our hope for today is to answer these questions and more as we introduce you to the purpose, the plan, and the pattern of the tabernacle.
And thou shalt make the court of the tabernacle. For the south side southward there shall be hangings for the court of fine twined linen, 100 cubits long for one side. And the pillars thereof shall be 20, and their sockets 20, of copper. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets shall be of silver. And likewise for the north side in length there shall be hangings 100 cubits long, and the pillars thereof 20, and their sockets 20, of copper, the hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the breadth of the court on the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits, their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. And the breadth of the court on the east side eastward shall be 50 cubits. The hangings for the one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And for the other side shall be hangings of 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And for the gate of the court shall be a screen of 20 cubits, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, the work of the weaver in colors, their pillars 4, and their sockets 4. All the pillars of the court round about shall be filleted with silver, their hooks of silver, and their sockets of copper. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and the breadth 50 everywhere, and the height 5 cubits, of fine twined linen, and their sockets of copper. All the instruments of the tabernacle, in all the service thereof, and all the pins thereof, and all the pins of the court shall be of copper. Exodus chapter 27, verses 9 through 19.
What I want to do is take a few moments and just explain the pattern that Moses was given for the altar of burnt sacrifice.
And he made the altar of burnt offering of acacia wood. 5 cubits was the length thereof, and 5 cubits the breadth thereof, 4 square, and 3 cubits the height thereof. And he made the horns thereof upon the 4 corners of it. The horns thereof were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with copper. And he made all the vessels of the altar, the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, the flesh hooks, and the fire pans. All the vessels thereof made he of copper. And he made for the altar a grating of network of copper, under the ledge round it beneath, reaching halfway up. And he cast 4 rings for the 4 ends of the grating of copper, to be holders for the staves. And he made the staves of acacia wood, and overlaid them with copper. And he put the staves into the rings on the sides of the altar, wherewith to bear it he made it hollow with planks. Exodus chapter 38, verses 1 through 7.
So what we have here is a altar, a grill, if you would say, that is made of acacia wood planks that are covered with hammered copper to protect the wood from burning. Copper conducts heat and spreads it out, so it's not going to burn through in any one particular place. You'll notice that in many versions of the Bible, it describes the size of the altar of burnt sacrifice in terms of cubits. And remember, a cubit is basically the measurement from a man's elbow to the tip of his finger. And commonly it's said that a cubit in the Bible represents 18 inches. So this particular instrument is 4.5 feet tall. It's in measurements of cubits, and 5 cubits square, 5 cubits in each direction. And those cubits translate into 7.5 feet. So what you have is a wood box covered with copper that is 4.5 feet tall and 7.5 feet square. You will notice that there is a rock and dirt ramp. These materials would not have been hewn with hammers or axes or anything. They would have been taken from the ground as they were and used to build a ramp, a structure, so the priest, when he's presenting the offerings, can walk up to the fire and place the offerings on the grate. Now, what is important for us to learn today is just this basic structure. So you can see that it's on 2 mounds of dirt. The reason why it's lifted up and a ramp to go up to present is because you have to have some way to put the firewood in to keep it burning. You have to have some way to pull out the ashes that have burnt down from the coals to remove them, because we know that if you do not remove the clinkers, the clinkers in our life, if you do not remove the dead ashes and put new fuel in, the fire will go out. Now, Scripture tells us that the original fire was lit by God. After 7 days of inauguration and ceremony of instituting or inaugurating the tabernacle, on the 8th day, everybody was waiting for the first service to happen, and says that basically God was pleased with the pattern. And when the pattern was right, the fire fell and lit the original firewood of the altar of burnt sacrifice. And you can see our flames are rolling in our footage, and to kind of give you an idea of what that might look like. Says that there were 4 horns, 4 protrusions on the altar itself. Now, horns in the Bible are a symbol of strength, a symbol of power. I asked one rabbi one time, why does the altar have 4 horns on it? And he said, well, it's got 4 corners, so 4 horns. And then he smiled and he said, how many horns do animals have? And I go, well, usually 2. And he goes, well, that's natural power or strength. God's altar has 4 horns, much more power, much more strength. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to go with it, okay? Now, let's not get too caught up in where these like literal horns on an animal. It's basically talking about some protrusion that comes up on the altar of burnt sacrifice. Now, there are some Jewish writings that indicate, well, in the Talmud, that these were more square instead of pointed, and that there was like a cup inside, and this is where the priest would pour the blood on the horns of the altar when it was prescribed to do that. So the blood wouldn't have been running down all over the altar. It would have been in this cup that would have been inside this little square protrusion. That's where the blood would be poured. And after a while, it would dry up just because of the heat emanating from the altar of burnt sacrifice. The scripture tells us that the pots, the fire pans, the flesh hooks, the shovels, even the container that the ashes would be taken away from the altar were all made of copper. Remember, common copper doesn't shine like the silver that was used, doesn't shine like the gold that was used. But this is a symbol of how God can take something common and elevate it to sacred or holy purposes when it's been set apart for Him. But I can't show it to you in particular today. But if you take a penny, if you take an old penny or an old piece of copper and you take and you clean it, it does shine. So even something that is made of common metal can be used for holy purposes. But even like in our lives, even though we might get tarnished, even though we might get singed or burnt or have soot build up in our life spiritually, we can be cleansed. We can be made whole. We can actually be set apart, made holy, set apart for sacred purposes. I know that for some of us, that's hard to think because of all the things we've done in our life. And before we become conscious of God, before we even thought of attending any type of religious services, before we even considered the value of prayer and spirituality, we may have picked up a lot of baggage along the way. But the ministry at the altar of burnt sacrifice then was about restoration, was about reconciliation with God. It was about repairing torn relationships between not only God and man, but man and man. So, this is the first portion or first piece of holy vessel furniture that you would see. It's also, if you'll look again at the model, it's the largest piece of furniture associated with the Mishkan. Some say that you could take all the other furniture, the copper basin, the menorah, the table of showbread, the golden altar, and even the Ark of the Covenant, and place it all inside here. It wouldn't do that. No one would have transported it that way. Everything had its own mechanism for transport. But the point is, as soon as you walked in the gate, the first thing that you saw, the thing that you couldn't get away from, is the ministry at the altar, the brazen altar, the altar of burnt sacrifice. Well, let's proceed a little bit and go to the next piece of furniture that was used in the ministry at the Mishkan.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Thou shalt also make a laver of copper, and the base thereof of copper, whereat to wash, and thou shalt put it between the tent of meeting and the altar, and thou shalt put water therein. And Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet thereat. When they go into the tent of meeting, they shall wash with water, that they die not, or when they come near to the altar to minister, to cause an offering made by fire to smoke unto the Lord. So they shall wash their hands and their feet, that they die not, and it shall be a statute forever to them, even to him and to his seed throughout their generations. Exodus chapter 30, verses 17 through 21.
Come with me. We're going to go just a little bit past the ramp here. And what I've done is I've taken the copper basin, which would probably be a little bit further away from the ramp. It would have been back over this way. But for the purposes of the camera, so we can see this a little bit better, I've inched it forward some. And you can see that it basically is a two-part piece of furniture. It is made of solid copper. It's not made of wood overlaid with copper. We will learn in future lessons that this was made from the copper mirrors the ladies brought from Egypt. part of the spoils of Egypt. It's two pieces. There's the bowl proper, and then there's the base. We're not told how large this is. We're not told how wide it is, how tall, any of the dimensions. We're primarily told what it was made of, that it was two parts, and that it was made of copper and what it was used for. Every morning before the priest would begin his ministry at the altar of burnt sacrifice, before he would represent the people, before he would inspect offerings, before he would do anything, he would first come to the brazen altar, the copper basin for washing, and he would ceremonially wash his hands 3 times and ceremonially wash his feet 3 times. We sometimes are mistaken that here is where the animals were washed and cleansed. Not so. That was done on some tables on the north side of the altar of burnt sacrifice. This was just for the priest. It was a way of sanctifying. It was a way of making holy. It was a way of setting apart their activity that day. They were to make it holy, to make it sacred. This was not common duties. This was not everyday life. This was something associated with God himself. Some say that there were spigots on the side, and that's how they got the water out, and that there was a lid on this so dirt would not come in throughout the day or the evening. So we got the altar of burnt sacrifice. We got the copper basin for washing. And just behind me is the Mishkan, or the tabernacle per se itself. Now, this structure is 15 feet high, 15 feet wide, and 45 feet long. Now, let's go back to the model just for a moment and take off the 4 coverings and look inside. So the first part you see in the model is the holy place. We've just come through another veil, and that holy place is 15 feet high, 15 feet wide, and 30 feet long. And inside the holy place, you have the menorah. It's on the south side. On the north side, you have the table of showbread, and somewhere in the middle, up against or near or facing the veil that separates the holy place from the Holy of Holies, you have the golden altar of incense. Now that we've looked at the model, let's take a look at the full-size representations of the holy place. Let's go inside the tent.
We see today the awesomeness of Moses' tabernacle. You saw the first video that we saw the priestly garments. Okay, that was awesome that you could see how this was put together. And then we went back to what the Moses, the Wilderness Tabernacle looked like. All right, so shout out to Terry Harmon. This second video that we watched, the Tabernacle, man, I've seen his videos for years, and he gives awesome demonstrations of all the different parts of the tabernacle. And I emailed him to let him know I was going to, use this, and shout out to him for being so gracious to let me do so and to offer his assistance. So he does an awesome job. Shout out to him. And these videos, I just love the fact that you can be able to see this, because a lot of times this is what I use as well, to study, the Bible, so that sometimes I can get a visual, because we live in a visual day and time. So it helps me to see, okay, this thing is so intricate. You see how he talked about the brazen altar, where the horns were there, and how, the way it was put together and whatnot. And you're looking at this brazen altar, basically is really you putting your sins on the altar. That's what that represents, is you coming and putting your sins on the altar of God. You're in Christ is that middleman. He's the sacrifice for our sins. So that brazen altar represents the burning up of everything in you that's not right. You know what I mean? Not physically speaking, but spiritually speaking. When you come to the Lord, you're allowing the Lord to cleanse you of your sinful ways, that he can begin to deal with your heart and your ways and things like that, so you can be who he called you to be. All right. So that brazen altar represents that. And then the copper altar, where you're washing, your hands and your feet. Okay. First of all, when you come to, the first altar there, the brazen altar, you're giving your all to the Lord, right? So then when you come and you washing your hands so that God can guide you to do his work, your hands have to be clean to do the work of the Lord. You must be clean. You must be holy. And your feet, it's got to be shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, right? As the Bible tells us. So that's representation of that whole area. That outside court area is that first step, that cleansing that takes place in your life when you first come to the Lord to serve him, to give him your life. This is what takes place. First, you have to be cleansed. You don't just walk up out the street like, yeah, I'm gay. I'm gangs, I'm ganging it, No, God is a holy God. You must come to him, humbly. You have to be ready to serve and let it be more of him and less of you. You have to give up your ways for his ways, because even the Bible tells us his ways are not our ways, neither are our thoughts his thoughts. So we have to sit and meditate. That's the reason of prayer and fasting and separating yourself so that you can get in touch with the Lord spiritually in your prayer time, in your reading your Bible time, in your witnessing to people time, or whatever it is that God has called you to do. You have to separate yourself. You have to be separated. All right. So thank you all for tuning again. Like I said, you can always reach out to me on Instagram, The Crystal Jones Show. Write to me at thecrystaljonesshow@gmail.com. Also on YouTube and Facebook. I'll be I always upload my videos. And subscribe to my channel and share with others so that they can subscribe and share as well. All right. So God bless you. God keep you. Thank you for tuning in. Watch me Sundays from 2:30 to 3:30. Channel 68 and 34. You could also go to bronxnet.org and hit watch now, and you can see me from 2:30 to 3:30. Until next time, God bless you. God keep you is my prayer, and you always stay balanced.
Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there. Not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.